Welcome to Mootechie. This slide provides a visual overview of viral structure. Let's look at the structural component key. It lists the main architectural parts we'll be exploring: the capsid, the envelope, the genome, and the spikes. Now, examining the diagram, we see a detailed model of a complex virus, likely a bacteriophage. At the core, we have the nucleic acid, which is the viral genetic material. This is surrounded and protected by the protein capsid. We can see various attachment structures: whiskers, long tail fibers, a base plate, and short tail fibers. These are often involved in recognizing and attaching to a host cell. Other labeled parts include a collar domain, a contractile sheath that helps inject the genome, and even Fe ions, which are iron atoms that can be important for structural stability. This diagram gives us a preview of the intricate and specialized components that make up a virus. This slide introduces the fundamental definition and core characteristics of viruses. The first heading asks, what are viruses? The first bullet point states they are acellular infectious agents. This means they are not considered living cells because they lack cytoplasm, organelles like ribosomes, and independent cell membranes. They exist in a gray area between chemistry and life. Next, they are obligate intracellular parasites. This is a key concept. They cannot reproduce on their own. They must enter and hijack a specific host cell's machinery to replicate. Unlike bacteria, they can't grow on a petri dish. They also exhibit incredible genetic diversity. Their genomes can be DNA or RNA, single or double-stranded, linear or circular. This is unlike all cellular life, which strictly uses double-stranded DNA. Lastly, they assemble versus divide. Viruses do not grow and divide via binary fission like cells. Instead, their newly synthesized components spontaneously come together to form new virus particles. The below simple diagram reiterates two core components: the protein capsid, which is the protective shell, and the viral genome, which is the DNA or RNA inside. The footer notes this is part of the Mootechie educational series. Now, let's discuss the morphology and dimensions of viruses, focusing on their size and shape. The text emphasizes that viruses operate on the nanometer scale. They are significantly smaller than bacteria and eukaryotic cells. The table provides a clear comparison. A human cell is about 10 to 100 micrometers. A bacterium is about 1 to 10 micrometers, but a virus is only 20 to 300 nanometers. To visualize, a human red blood cell is around 2000 nanometers across, and an E. coli bacterium is about 2000 nanometers long. Viruses are tiny in comparison. The remaining values follow the same pattern and can be referred to in the table. This size difference is why we need powerful microscopes to see them and why they can pass through filters that trap bacteria. The slide also illustrates three major shapes. First is the icosahedral shape, which is a geometric shape with 20 equilateral triangular faces. This design efficiently maximizes internal space for the genome. Examples include adenovirus and poliovirus. Second is the helical shape, where protein subunits called capsomeres are arranged in a continuous spiral or helix around the nucleic acid. Examples are tobacco mosaic virus, TMV, Ebola, and rabies. Third is the complex shape, which features combinations of icosahedral and helical parts like the head and tail structure seen in bacteriophages. Pox viruses are also considered complex. Moving forward, we'll take a closer look at the virus protective shell and assembly, focusing on capsid architecture. The text describes the capsid as the protein coat that determines viral specificity and durability. It's a critical shell. It is built from repeating protein subunits called capsomeres, which can be pentons or hexons. These subunits self-assemble, much like building blocks snapping together. A primary function is genome protection. The capsid encases the delicate viral genome, shielding it from physical damage and enzymatic digestion by the environment or the host cell. The assembly follows symmetry and efficiency. It uses precise geometric principles, often described by a T number, to create the largest possible internal volume using the smallest amount of genetic coding. It's an efficient design. Finally, the host interaction is determined here. Surface structures on the capsid, like pores or vertices, facilitate the initial receptor binding and the delivery of the genome into the host cell. The diagram on the left breaks this down visually. We see the viral genome at the center. Surrounding it is the capsid shell, noted as a self-assembled protein code. The shell itself is made of individual capsomeous subunits, shown as hexagonal and pentagonal pieces fitting together. Let's examine the nucleic acids and genetics that form the viral genomes. The first point highlights DNA or RNA diversity. Unlike cellular life, which always uses double-stranded DNA, viruses can have genomes made of DNA or RNA, and these can be single-stranded or double-stranded. This is a fundamental feature for classification. Strand polarity is crucial for RNA viruses. Positive-sense single-stranded RNA can function directly as messenger RNA in the host cell. Negative-sense single-stranded RNA, however, must carry its own viral polymerase enzyme to make a complementary positive strand before proteins can be made. Genome organization varies. Genomes may be linear, circular, or segmented. Segmented genomes, like in influenza, are divided into separate pieces. This diversity directly impacts how the virus replicates and reassorts its genes. There is also extreme size variation. Viral genomes range from very small, like circoviruses with about 2 kilobases coding for just 2 proteins, to giant mimiviruses with over 900 proteins coding for more than 900 proteins, blurring the line between viruses and cellular life. The diagram shows icons representing different genome types: dsDNA linear, circular DNA, and RNP complex, which is ssRNA wrapped in nucleoproteins, and segmented. The labels genome and nucleoproteins help us understand the composition of these packages. The footer identifies this as slide 05 of the Mootechie educational series. Now, we'll explore the protective layer and entry mechanisms involving the viral envelope and surface proteins. The quote calls it the stolen cloak that hides the intruder and holds the keys to entry, which is a great analogy. The envelope is a host-derived membrane. It's a lipid bilayer that the virus acquires from the host cell's membrane, like the nuclear envelope or cell membrane, as it buds out of the cell. This cloaks the virus in a piece of the host, helping it evade detection. Protruding from this envelope are viral spikes, which are glycoproteins. These spikes are virally encoded and are crucial for binding to host cell receptors. They are also the primary targets for our immune system antibodies. Inside, a matrix support layer made of proteins bridges the gap between the envelope and the inner nucleocapsid, providing structural integrity and helping shape the virus particle. However, this envelope comes with a trade-off: environmental fragility. Unlike naked viruses with just a protein capsid, enveloped viruses are sensitive to drying, heat, soaps, and detergents because these disrupt the lipid membrane. This influences how they can be transmitted. The diagram on the left illustrates these layers. We see the viral envelope labeled as the host lipid bilayer. Just inside is the matrix layer for structural support. Then we have the internum, likely meaning internal, and the nucleocapsid core. Jutting out are the spike proteins that act as keys for entry. This slide covers the clinical and biological significance, explaining why structure matters. First, structure determines host range and tropism. The specific shape of surface proteins like spikes or capsid proteins dictates which receptors they can bind to on a host cell, which controls which cell types and even which species a virus can infect. It influences stability and transmission. Naked viruses with just a protein capsid survive well in harsh environments like on surfaces, enabling fecal-oral transmission. Enveloped viruses need to stay in moist environments or transmit directly via droplets or bodily fluids. Structure guides vaccine design. Identifying the critical exposed parts or epitopes on spikes or capsid proteins allows scientists to design vaccines that prompt the body to make neutralizing antibodies against those exact spots. It informs antiviral targets. Understanding the 3D shape of viral proteins allows drugs to be designed that block specific functions like fusion inhibitors that stop entry, protease inhibitors that halt protein processing, or polymerase blockers that prevent genome replication. Finally, structure enables classification. Viral taxonomy relies on observable features: geometry, icosahedral or helical, genome type, DNA or RNA, single or double-stranded, and the presence or absence of an envelope. The central diagram ties these concepts together. It shows a virus approaching a host cell for host entry, that is tropism. On one side, an immune defense antibody is neutralizing the virus. On the other, an antiviral action inhibitor is blocking the viral polymerase. At the bottom, a spectrum contrasts naked, that is robust, with enveloped, that is fragile, in terms of environmental stability.
Thank you. We've covered a lot, from the basic building blocks of viruses to how their intricate designs dictate how they spread, make us sick, and how we can fight them. Understanding this architecture is the first step in understanding virology itself. Thank you for your attention and curiosity throughout this exploration. Keep asking questions.